Five Nights at Freddy's and Dead by Daylight has been one of the most wished for series to ever join Dead by Daylight in the history of pretty much ever. The indie horror game series developed by Scott Cawthon took over the media after multiple huge content creators like Markiplier and Jacksepticeye played these games initially, and have still continued to support the series till this day. The amount of lore in one game, we're just mainly talking about the first one here, immediately drew on a fan base for the game series and a whole bunch of lore guys, and the community is still alive and thriving to this day. But what a lot of people don't know is that this is a huge deal on how this will impact DBD. FNaF has been a titan of a game, and Dead by Daylight's no different. Dead by Daylight's been alive since 2016, and after all this time, it's still impressive to see the game alive and kicking. So since this highly influential chapter is coming out later this year, I figured, hey, why not talk about it a little bit, and figure out just how impactful Dead by Daylight really will be with Five Nights at Freddy's coming to the realm later this year. Five Nights at Freddy's already has a pretty expanded universe, but for people that really know about the games, there's only really one obvious choice for a killer, and that's being Springtrap or William Afton. For those that don't somehow know, William Afton or Springtrap was a mass child murderer taking the lives of many kids. These kids will be put into animatronic suit to suffer a horrendous fate of being confined within a metallic animal body, along with their spirits. Later on, William Afton would suffer the same fate, except in a more brutal fashion. He'll go on a spring-locked suit. On one fateful night, one drop of rain hit the yellow rabbit with the man inside, triggering the locks to go off, mauling the man in the suit, tearing him apart. He would then proceed to rot in that suit for 30 years, but obviously, death would never be enough for William. He didn't even want William. He'll be reincarnated as a rotten, moldy bunny we now know today as Springtrap. He always came back, no matter what, and it doesn't matter how. The survivor is most likely going to be Michael Afton, being the son of William Afton. Wow. Although not possessing the same twisted mindset his father has. He's gone through a pretty similar fate and has been through a lot as a character. Working the night shift to getting his gut scooped out, finally landing on a pizzeria manager in the last ever entry we've seen him, if I remember correctly. He's seen everything that his father's done, and more or less experienced it for himself. More lore revolves around these characters, but that's not necessarily what this video is mainly about. If you want more lore about the FNaF universe, I can leave a playlist where all the game theory lore videos are there, and I'll leave a link there for everyone who's interested. Now we get into part that I would consider the good part of Dead by Daylight coming to FNaF. When FNaF does come into the fog, the player count and player risk will potentially be skyrocketing to the highest Dead by Daylight's ever seen, probably surpassing that of Resident Evil way back when the first ever chapter released with Nemesis, Jill, and Leon. The series has been popular ever since 2014, and it got its own movie 2 years ago, in October 2023. A lot of merchandise has also come with the game, and some people also grew up with this game series. I feel like this chapter is going to be so impactful, just because of how a new generation is going to be coming to Dead by Daylight. And with that generation, so many people are going to be playing as Springtrap or Michael, and not to mention, but each character that will get added already has a bunch of skin potential for Dead by Daylight already. For Springtrap, we have his FNaF 6 appearance in Scrap Trap, and then for Security Breach, we have his appearance in Burn Trap, I think that's what everyone's calling him. And then Michael Afton already has like a good few potential skins for what the survivors could be. There's a lot of legendary potentials for skins too. With the series' popularity in mind, the amount of money Dead by Daylight would make would be exponential and a lot of exponents. It may very well be one of, if not the highest grossing chapter Dead by Daylight has ever gotten their hands on. They could potentially make a few million bucks off of that chapter alone. Not to mention the fans of FNaF have played Security Breach before, and on release Security Breach was a horribly buggy and messy game. Kind of how Dead by Daylight's like today. So whenever they do enter Dead by Daylight, they might just be used to how many bugs are in Dead by Daylight compared to Security Breach. And honestly, hey, welcome to the party. Now here comes the bad part about this chapter. The main bad thing is that it's coming to DBD of all games. Dead by Daylight has been pretty notorious for creating some pretty lackluster killer designs and overall just making some of those most wanted killers of the game boring. We can see this pretty heavily with 2023 whenever the Xenomorph came in. Xenomorph was one of the many sci-fi horror icons that was coming to the game, only to find out, after some experience with the killer, the verdict came out to be that the killer was massively a boring playstyle. He basically had a mid-range tail attack and some of the best map traversal in the game. Not only that, but the flamethrower turrets basically make the killer become ever more boring, as you have to place them down, wait for the Xenomorph to get out of his power, and give the killer pretty much a mandatory side quest in order to keep their power, and only to see them reset later on, through match reversal or wait a whole 60 minutes for Carlo to come back and get your tail back. Xenomorph was an epically popular character at the time, and only to find out it was super boring to play as or against just made people come to the collective conclusion that it was just pretty unsuccessful for how big the license was as a whole. Before Five Nights at Freddy's, the Xenomorph was probably the biggest license Behavior has ever gotten their hands on. And looking at the Xenomorph and some of the other kills in this game, you would think they could butcher Springtrap or whoever they choose to come to the game. And honestly, like, we're looking at some of the other kills in this game, just look at the newest release, the Houndmaster, right? The Houndmaster has released with an epic amount of bugs with her. Like, so sometimes her powers just flat out wouldn't work. Not saying that she wasn't a bad killer by any means, but her power not working wasn't great for her at all. I'll just put that lightly. If they want the chapter to succeed, they're really going to need to go in with making sure that this patch with Five Nights at Freddy's is going to be as clean as possible. Otherwise, it just might be another security breach incident. Now I'm cutting a short little section of The Ugly, mainly to talk about how bad the game can be with its bugs, and how extremely toxic the community can be at times. Let's talk about the newest release of the game with the Houndmaster. When the Houndmaster released, oh my god, did she have a whole mountain of bugs and issues with her. If I can find the patch notes from the day after her release, it was like 8.4.1, I believe is when that whole list of bug fixes were meant specifically for her, by the way. There was like a whole like page worth of bug fixes on her, I kid you not. Whenever I do find them, I will put a image up here displaying how many bugs she had exclusively to her, and I'll put them up here so that you can read them. And ever since like that has came out, she's been consistently being fixed and buffed and nerfed and whatever. Not to mention there was also a period of time where Off the Record was bugged to have its endurance status effect not go away after being hit by killers, or any means it would. This would also give survivors a lot of time to just mess around and get a lot of free health states off. Not to mention also that the Spirit has also been bugged for pretty much a good while now. The breathing sound effects of the husk would be heard during the phase walk, and they said they patched it. This normally wouldn't happen at all. Now, some of the other Spirit players I've heard from, one of the streamers that I watched, BlueJean47, I'm pretty sure that he was still saying, or in some of his chat was also saying that that the Spirit was also still a bit bugged, where the husk would still be playing audio whenever you were phase locking for the breathing. So the devs are very just like put a band-aid on it and call it a day. That's pretty much it. And now we get to the community. And a lot of the community is either really, really nice or very, very toxic at times. The good part of the community is that, you know, there's people that support the game. They want the game to succeed. They want the game to live. Like, they just say GG's and move on, and then they try to make compliments where they're necessary. And then there's the obscene amount of toxic people in this game. Oh my god, there are way too many toxic people in Dead by Daylight, I kid you not. This has mainly seen a lot of videos from creators like Sky Faction and Game Boy Ben. Shout out to them, they had to go to the DBD community. And I love them both. Some players just get way too loud about when they lose. And now we consider some of these newer players that are coming in just to play as Springtrap or Michael Afton. And whenever they win or lose, they're gonna get some uncool messages saying like, oh, this and that, oh, that, and I just don't want to say it because, you know, some of that stuff gets really, really bad in Dead by Daylight. But unfortunately, this is something that not the devs can really fix at all. It's more or less in the hands of the players that are behind the keyboard typing that message. So it's really just like up to the community how they're gonna control that. And now we've come to the final verdict. Overall, I think this chapter is going to be either very successful or very detrimental, depending on how Behavior takes it in. Honestly, it's going to be a coin flip for the ages, and I'm pretty excited to see how it's going to play out. But what do you guys think? You think this chapter is going to succeed, or is it going to fail? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And if you enjoy this sort of content, leave a like and maybe subscribe so I can keep making these videos for you. But yeah, I'll get you guys in all the future videos. Peace out.